wins the Daytona 500.
Practice was going all right. Like, it was fine. But I had a moment where I was at the top. I was like, okay, I've landed my run like 4 or 5 times now. So I was like, okay, I think I need to do another run. I remember feeling my board kind of like hit something going up the wall and just throw my line off completely. Next thing you know, slammed on the deck, dragged my face down the wall, had ice burn all over my face, and I was just crying because I was so bummed. Everyone was freaking out because it was a pretty heavy slam. I'm just really grateful I didn't land on my neck at all, but it was pretty close. The medical staff came in, grabbed me to take me to the tent to make sure I didn't get concussed or anything. The whole time I was like begging them, like asking if I can compete. I'm still going to compete. Like, can I please still compete? I got cleared, and then I was like, okay, I guess I'm just going to try. Like, nothing to lose at this point. I went back up on the sled, and it was my turn. I like just made it for my run.
Here's Chloe's final shot to leapfrog Kelly Clark for gold.
Backside air from Chloe Kim.
So the switch backside 7 into...
Switch backside 7 into a McTwist, into a frontside 900. She's happy with it. Chloe Kim is your youngest gold medalist ever at an X Games winter event. Do you believe it?
I did not expect that I was going to win, but I just remember like having a gold medal around my neck and just being like so shocked. Being able to get back into that contest mentality after like burning my face off pretty much, I'm really proud of that. Shit, I might not even be able to do that again today. Like, you know, it was honestly one of the greatest moments of my career, I think.
Unreal! That was Isaac Houston has made history. Kua Kai Roth hung up on
Kurt Busch wins the Daytona 500.
It's a goal you set out. From the time I was little, they could ask me, what do you want to be? World champion bull rider. That's all I ever wanted to be. Bull can take his tail and swish it up there and hit a fly off his back. He knows exactly where that guy is and where his weight's shifted to. Them bulls will feel your weight get shifted to one side or the other, and they'll turn back away from you. They're a lot smarter than most people think. Each sport's different, dangerous in their own element, but I mean, it's man versus beast. Be a cowboy and don't let go. 2015 is kind of, all right, don't put no pressure on yourself. Just go show them who you are.
one of the best we've ever seen in the sport.
Man, I was wearing them out. I explain it like a light switch. When that switch is on, you can't do any wrong. When that switch is off, you can't do any right. And the switch was on, and it led all the way to the finals.
More invincible than North Carolina's native son, J.D. Moore. 92 3/4. Say hello to your 2015 PBR World Champion.
Anytime you're over 90 points and you hit the ground and everybody in that building's standing up, they're clapping and cheering. When you step off and you look around and everybody's like that, boy, you're 10 foot tall and bulletproof. And like in 2015, when they handed you that gold buckle that says world champion, that you were the best bull rider in the world that year, it's all worth it.
Unreal! That was Isaac Houston has made history. Kua Kai Roth hung up on
Kurt Busch wins the Daytona 500.
Monster can be very disruptive in its marketing and its culture. I thought, how cool would it be to be involved with the biggest sporting event of the year this side of the Super Bowl? It seemed like a really cool, once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be part of something. It was the most intense and stressful 2 minutes of my life. If that horse had not have won, instead of talking to me right now, I'd be back in Alabama, driving a truck or something. It was just a very stressful day. It really turned out well. because he won. He not only rode that horse to one of the greatest horse races in history, he delivered for us at Monster. When I look back on all of the performances they turned in over the years, Victor Espinoza and American Pharaoh's performance that day will always stick out in my mind as one of the best Monster performances ever.
Unreal. That was Isaac Houston has made history. Kua Kai Ra hung up on
Kurt Busch wins the Daytona 500.
I think that was the best ride of my life. It was very early in the season that year, the Northern Hemisphere big wave season that hadn't really even started yet. Everything looked perfect with that swell, and it just turned on to be one of those really classic sessions at Jaws that I'll remember forever. It was in the evening, and I had already been out there for like 3 or 4 hours, and I mean, I can't forget it because I was out there by myself, and this really big set was coming in. I could hear whistles from the beach and whistles from the cliff and the boats and stuff, and like the first really big wave of the set just looked like a perfect one, and I felt like I was in the right spot, and I whipped it. It was really, really huge. I was pretty scared, but I kind of knew I was in the right place, and it was really glassy. It was really clean, and so I put my head down and just went for it and ended up catching the wave. As I was dropping in, I was like, oh my gosh, this is the best wave of my life. It's the biggest, most perfect wave I've ever caught at Jaws by a mile, and I thought I just had it in the bag. And I hit that boil, almost fell, recovered my balance, made a little bottom turn, and the whole wave just set up on the reef perfectly. And time just slowed down, and this thing was barreling over me, and it was just an incredible experience. I just sort of was so shocked that I was really in control on a wave that big and that heavy that my arms just like naturally went out to the sides, to celebrate the moment. And then as soon as I did that, I realized, holy crap, this wave is so gnarly and so big and hollow. I better really get it together. And I felt like the wave was just about to spit. And so I just gripped my wax with my toes and put my arms back in and kind of braced myself for the bump and the spit. And then right then it just started spitting behind me, and I got spit out of the barrel into the channel. And just to get, that energy from everybody who was there for that swell and there for that session was super special. It's definitely something I'll never forget. That one's at the top of my stack of epic rides for sure.
Unreal. That was Isaac Houston has made history. Kua Kai Ra hung up on
Kurt Busch wins the Daytona 500.
The inspiration for my world record flip was the allure of the triple digits, and it was highly inspired by Mike Metzger and his backflip over Caesar's Palace Fountain. Seeing what Metzger has done, I didn't think there was any reason why he couldn't flip 100 feet on a mountain bike. The flip is, man, if you don't pull hard enough, land on your front wheel and straight to your head. I mean, the whole danger of injury is always there, and that's just kind of a constant in our sport. But I think it's mainly the work and the pressure of how big of an extravaganza this was. I convinced them to let my friend Kyle Strait to be able to follow me on a GoPro and a gimbal to a live broadcast. So if I crashed, everyone came there to watch it. Everyone's watching live on TV. This was like the biggest event I've ever been a part of, because it was 100% devoted to me doing something. There's no one to come right after. There's no one before, there's no one after, no chance for a second run. It's like, do it now. Everyone said it made it look too easy, but that's the goal. But yeah, everything just kind of just blacked out. Like the proverbial zone. There's very few times in any athlete's life they really get to experience that, but that was definitely one of those moments to where everything just it's autopilot. My wife and my daughter are waiting there for me, all my friends, and it's greatest feeling in the world. If I had to show anyone one thing that I've done to sum up, how far I've come and the opportunities I've been able to take advantage of, that definitely takes the cake.
Unreal. That was Isaac Houston has made history. Kua Kai Ra hung up on
Kurt Busch wins the Daytona 500.
So coming into 2014, winning the 9th consecutive X Games gold medal, the pressure to keep that streak alive in Austin, Texas was very intense.
11 career X Games BMX vert gold medals. That's the most of all time in this discipline, and he's got 8 in a row.
When I was on the top of the ramp, I can remember setting up for my first run. The PA announcer shouted out my name and just let everybody know that the 90 was at stake here tonight. You've got to somewhat push that aside and not let the magnitude of it consume you.
They're looking to make it 9, and here we go. Starts right out of the flare look down.
And for the most part, the run went as planned, except for when I landed heavy on this 1.540. Everything just went quiet. Before I knew it, I was upside down, couldn't see a thing, and I'm in the middle of a front flare, and I couldn't have landed it any better.
Front flip flare, holds it perfect, straight into a flare. Check this out. And that's an opposite turn down flare, fast play flare. Oh my brain! Now that was just unreal. That was epic.
It was like a dream, and as a competitor, these are the days that you live for.
For your 9th X Games in a row, Jamie Bestwick goes home with an X Games vert gold medal.
Probably one of my best competition runs ever. Those are the things I'll remember. Of course, the gold medals, they're always going to shine, but the riding will always be the brightest thing of all those 9 years. I just love to ride.
Unreal! That was Isaac Houston has made history.
Kurt Busch wins the Daytona 500.
Going into the 2020 season, no, I actually didn't really know the medal count. I was kind of just trying to have a different mindset than I usually do. Not being so attached to the result, being more in each moment and going with the flow of however I'm feeling. X Games was the first event I came to. It was really fun because they changed the format. It was a jam format, so we were going to get anywhere from 4 to 5 runs in like 30 minutes. And it just made the atmosphere of the event just what I was looking for. Fun, light, creative.
Switchback 5. Last run she did switchback 1 there, so upping the difficulty in run 2. Frontside 7. Hang on to it, Jamie. She does.
Just able to bring it around for this last jump.
Backside rodeo. Last run, it almost looked like she was going backside rodeo 7. Great run from Jamie Anderson.
I think after my second run, I ranked highest and then just kept kind of having fun and doing some different runs.
Look at our podium. Jamie Anderson earns her 6th X Games gold medal, the 17th of her career.
Yeah, after winning gold this year and hearing I was the most decorated female athlete, I honestly couldn't believe it. X Games is kind of where it all began for me when I was 13, just competing in border cross. And now being 29 and having 18 medals is just an honor, and I'm so grateful.
Houston has made history.
Kurt Busch wins the Daytona 500.
Action is go here for X Games Aspen 2020 and the Real Cost Men's Ski Big Air Final. Henrik Harlow, that gentleman is chasing a record out here tonight, trying to surpass Tanner Hall for the most ski medals in X Games history. Can he take home another gold medal?
I was definitely aware of that if I would grab another medal, I would surpass Tanner's records for the most medals in skiing at X Games, but definitely a little bit nervous.
Currently sitting in 2nd place with a chance if he stays there.
You gotta have 5 tricks that are some of the best tricks you've ever done because of the level, how high it is right now. As soon as I step into my skis, I don't usually think so much about the danger. Once I'm clicked in, it's just all fun.
DC, you're right. Double bio, too. That's something he learned in the elimination round.
Forward double rodeo 1620 and do 2 flips and 4.5 rotation spins, so you land backwards again. And both those rotations are in a forward axis, so your feet are behind you and head first. I landed it perfect.
And then he's done it! He jumps up! Henrik Harlow winning a 6 X Games gold medal, taking over the top spot from Tanner Hall, the winningest skier in X Games history.
For me to come out on top was unbelievable. Definitely have made it way further than I ever thought when I was a little kid in Sweden.
Houston has made history. Kula Kai Roth hung up on
Kurt Busch wins the Daytona 500.
Welcome to the Real Cost BMX Big Air Final.
There was a point where I didn't know if I was ever even going to get invited to X Games at all. The quarter pipe is definitely the most dangerous ramp we have in action sports as far as I am concerned. And I'm thinking to myself, this is the one opportunity I may ever have to win a gold medal at X Games. You know, there's no possible way I'm not going to try this trick. It had never been done before.
Again, just look at the concentration. I'm frightened to think about what James is going to try to throw into the mix here in this 4th and final run. However,
you know, in my mind, it was like, if I don't land this, I might die.
Here we go, James Foster, 4th and final run.
I think I'm the only person that landed a backflip triple tail whip over the mega ramp gap before it. They tend to value the quarter pipe much more than the jump because the risk is tremendously higher. You kind of have to watch it in slow motion to really tell. Do a bar spin, catch the bars. You know, the first 2 tail whips are at the peak, and then as you're falling, the 3rd tail whip comes around, catch the pedals, land rubber side down, ride away. You know, it worked. It was kind of a moment of shock to the stadium, obviously, because nobody knew I was going to do that. It had never been done before. Yeah, I was so excited. I just, picked my bike up, threw it as far as I could down the landing. It was one of the most meaningful things I've ever done. Life achievement, absolute.
Unreal! That was Houston has made history. Kula Kai Roth hung up on
Kurt Busch wins the Daytona 500.
He was diagnosed with Hodgkin lymphoma less than a year ago.
At first, it was a really, really huge shock for me because I've never missed a single contest in my entire career. And now the doctor was telling me, well, you won't be missing only one contest. You'll be missing the whole season because you have to start the treatments right away. Obviously, life is more important than snowboarding. So at that point, I had to put my snowboard away to face this battle.
Well, just 2 months removed from his final round of chemotherapy, now setting foot on the biggest snowboard contest in the world. You would think that's already a win. A big trick here would catapult him back into first place.
I'm guessing front triple, and I'm guessing right. He's got to get going, and he does.
Wow. And here he is, a 44 for a 91 total. And with that, Max Perot wins gold.
No matter what obstacle life has thrown at Max Perot, he has overcome it and stood on the podium again, Brandon.
It was a really fun challenge to do, but it's just like the Kindy on top, like nothing can beat beating a cancer. I mean, it's like the word of like you can live again,
I'm Emma Raducanu and I'm here today with Porsche. The dreams that kept me going back then were to win Grand Slams and to play at Wimbledon. For me, it's all about continuous improvement and getting better and just trying to learn and experience new things. I feel like my culture and my family background has definitely played a part in who I am and my personality and character. Yeah, when I was younger, I remember that the Porsche Grand Prix in Stuttgart was always a big tournament and a very different and unique tournament because the winner would get a Porsche, and that was very special. I love motorsports because I feel like it's just a drive for continuous improvement that I feel like is actually quite similar to tennis.
Let's go.
My favorite Porsche car is the 911 for sure, because I feel like throughout every generation it is so unique and so beautiful in its own distinct way, and I feel like it's one of the most iconic cars that are out there. One of my more recent coaches has a 911 vintage Targa, and you know, I just love the differences between the modern day ones and the vintage classics. And whenever I would see him every morning, I would be like, you know, dreaming of one day sitting in my own. Yeah, cool coach.
Let's go.
Porsche has always been in my head. It's one of the brands that I've always loved from a young age. For me to be a brand ambassador for Porsche, it means a lot because I feel like now I might be able to sit in my own 911 one day, and that was a dream that I had as a kid. But also it's really important for me to align with partners and brands that I really feel passionate about and I identify with. And I feel like because motorsports has always been a part of me, I think this partnership with Porsche is incredible, and honestly I'm really excited to see what sort of exciting things we can do going forward.
Vou ter que estar aqui de qualquer jeito. E você também pode vir comigo. Na Copa de 2018, eu tive a honra de assistir a seleção pela primeira vez aqui na arquibancada. Foi inesquecível, mas na próxima, eu quero ajudar a seleção brasileira desde dentro. E você aqui de fora. O clima na arquibancada é muito poderoso. Eu não consigo nem imaginar como vai ser aqui no Catar. É por isso que eu tô te avisando. Eu não perco essa Copa do Mundo por nada. Se pode ser aqui, melhor. E se não, eu vou estar na arquibancada torcendo pela nossa seleção. Eu já vim pro Catar várias vezes. É incrível aqui. Receptividade, povo educado. É muito mais do que o deserto. Mas posso te falar uma coisa? O deserto também é muito maneiro. Doha é uma cidade moderna e eu gosto de vir aqui por esse contraste contemporâneo e histórico. E ainda dá para vir aqui sem se preocupar com nada. Dá só uma olhada nos pacotes completos que a Qatar Airways Holidays tem para a Copa do Mundo.
Durban is a thriving modern city in KwaZulu-Natal, home of the Zulu nation. Its people live a fast-paced 21st century life, yet many of them carry their traditions deep within them. I find that the traditional Zulu attire is so regal looking. Just the colors and the vibrancy, just beautiful. I traveled out of Durban to discover the Zulu way of life. I didn't realize how close the city is to the beautiful rolling hills of Heartland. I was excited to find people still living according to a proud, passionate heritage, not just respecting the old ways, but celebrating tradition joyously. I found people with an amazing zest for life, flashes of color everywhere. I was swept up in the drama, the noise, the excitement of it all. I mean, every photographer lives for those moments. It's something I'll never forget.
May 13th, 1981.
Someone said, it's the Pope. He's shot. You know, we just looked. It was just unbelievable.
At the Vatican, Pope John Paul II is shot and seriously wounded by a Turkish gunman in St. Peter's Square. The pontiff recovers, and a few years later, he visits his would-be assassin, Mehmet Ali Agca, behind bars. 1607, a ship carrying English settlers arrives at the site of what becomes the Jamestown settlement in Virginia. 1940.
I have never promised anything but blood, tears, toil, and sweat.
In London, Winston Churchill gives his first speech as Britain's Prime Minister during some of his country's darkest days of World War II. 1846. The United States declares war on Mexico days after the two neighbors clash in their first major battle in Texas. The war ends with an American victory, forcing Mexico to give up territory from California to the Rio Grande. And 1950, Stevie Wonder, singer-songwriter, and one of Motown's most successful artists, is born in Saginaw, Michigan. Today in history, May 13th, Ross Simpson, The Associated Press.
Welcome back in our studio, and in today's news,